Kent State was a very political campus. When I hit campus in March of '69, I was a very confused man.
On April 30th, 1970, when President Nixon announced an expansion of the Vietnam War, protests erupted nationwide, including at Ohio's Kent State. Students held a peaceful protest, burying the Constitution. Tim Butts was there. He and another student burned their discharge papers as well.
The invasion of Cambodia really angered me. It was just a sign that this war was never going to end.
Tensions only escalated through the weekend, with smashed windows, blocked streets, and the burning of the campus ROTC building. The National Guard was called in, just in time for another rally on Monday, May 4th.
It was all circulated by word of mouth. By the time I got there, the Guard was coming back down the hill after having shot the students.
Twin soldiers and Nixon's coming. We're finally on our own. This summer I hear the drumming. For dead in Ohio.
I saw people laying on the ground bleeding, people crying, people hysterical, people panicked.
The shootings left 4 dead and 9 injured.
Those young people that had never been exposed to violence all of a sudden saw violence unfold right before their eyes.
This wasn't Tim's first exposure to bloodshed. The young Ohioan served 3.5 years in the Air Force, doing a tour of duty at the Tan Son Nhut Air Base in Vietnam, a prime target of the Viet Cong during the Tet Offensive. Tim worked the flight line, inspecting planes before and after takeoff.
Life on a flight line is neither easy nor safe. And when you're working on metal aircraft in 100-degree heat day after day after day, it can wear you down. You know, it was so hot out there, you could not stay hydrated.
As Tim looks through photos with his wife, Barb, it is the darker memories of war that are tougher to shake.
Yeah. So this is me on top of a Vietnamese Air Force tank. This is the main gate to the base. VC tried to enter the base through here on the first night of Tet, but they didn't get very far on that one. I was on the night crew, and that first night of the Tet Offensive, we just knew something was going to happen. You could feel it in the air. We lost 6 planes during the Tet Offensive to ground fire, to rockets and mortars. And we lost 5 people while I was over there. One of them was killed on the first night of the Tet Offensive. He took an AK-47 round to the head. The Tet Offensive informed me that the war was unwinnable. The smartest thing that we could do was to get us the hell out of there and stop the bloodshed.
Going from Vietnam into a college classroom, Tim felt shunned, disconnected from his generation. But it was the shooting of his fellow students that pulled Tim back into battle.
I lost friends in the Tet Offensive. I lost a friend on May 4th, and both those things have had life-changing aspects for me. I can understand men dying in war. That's what wars are designed to do, is kill. But going to a demonstration on an American college campus, that's not a capital crime. 2 of the 4 students that were killed weren't even at the demonstration. They were just walking across campus when the National Guard opened fire.
Tim was a casual friend of Allison Krauss, one of the 4 students killed that day.
She was a kind young woman. She had so much to offer the world. How do you not be angry over that? It was all unnecessary.
Tim left school and began working for Vietnam veterans against the war, becoming one of the most respected behind-the-scenes leaders of the movement.
Yeah, that's Carrie, that's me. I was a logistics kind of guy.
And he was getting noticed. The FBI had developed a thick file on his activities.
At no time the file indicates did but urge violent acts against the government. You know, how can you advocate violence when you've been to Vietnam? It just don't work. The FBI was spying on everybody back then. Among my circle of friends, having an FBI file is kind of a badge of honor.
Tim realized he wasn't simply a protester or anti-war activist, but more of a social justice advocate. In the late 70s, Tim moved to Nebraska, got married, and spent the next 30 years of his career working as an advocate for the disabled, fair housing, and the Nebraska ACLU, before finally retiring in 2014.
It is an honor for the Department of Nebraska to honor Mr. Tim Butts with a 2017 Distinguished Service Award.
This year, the state chapter of the Disabled American Veterans honored Tim for his volunteer efforts.
It's really a sense of duty to help other veterans. DAV, this is Tim. I saw the way we were treated. The VFWs and the American Legions didn't want us because we were losers. You can tell me what you were doing there, and I understand it perfectly, but the VA rating officials don't. There were barriers with the VA. We're going to want to know how heavy a load you were carrying, how often this happened. That just seemed unwilling or unable to address our needs. These rating officials that are going to be looking at it, they weren't in Vietnam. Being able to knock down some of those barriers for current veterans is highly rewarding, and perhaps a little bit of revenge.
With retirement, Tim has earned the right to slow down, but that's not how he and his wife, Barb, are wired.
Can you check on a status of a claim for me? I enjoy a cold beer on a warm porch, but you know, there's some things that just have to get done in life. And this is one of them.
You retire and you get out, and as if this were something to be done with and to be over. But you know, there's a way of thinking about it, which is, what are you saving yourself for? You know, this is part of what you do. If you save energy and emotion or whatever, for what? It's being spent and used in a really good way.
Life is good. As long as I have 2 feet running, I'm going to stay busy, and I'm going to do something that benefits others and gives me a sense of satisfaction. These are my glory days, not when I was 19. Right now, these are my glory days.